This one's an interesting one. This is from VG247 as well. It says, this is from Hunter Wolf. The headline reads, Xbox may allow its new studios to create multi-platform games. It says Xbox first-party studios boss Matt Booty says the company is willing to consider putting future games on rival platforms on a per-franchise basis. Game Informer asked Booty if he would allow newly acquired studios like Double Fine, Obsidian, and Ninja Theory to keep creating multi-platform games, to which he replied, quote, yeah, I think we would. I think that the question is less binary about should it be on Switch, should it be on PlayStation, and more, does it make sense for the franchise? In other words, is it a kind of game where it would benefit from the network effect of being on a bunch of different platforms, or is it a game where we can best support it by putting resources and making sure that our platforms, things like xCloud and Game Pass and Xbox Live, are really leaning in to support the game? End quote. Booty said it made sense, for example, to expand Minecraft onto new platforms after the company acquired Mojang, considering it already had players on non-Xbox platforms. Franchises like Forza, Halo, and Sea of Thieves, he explained, are designed from the outset to stay exclusive to Xbox ecosystem, however. Obsidian's The Outer Worlds is looking to be one of those franchises moving forward. The last note there is interesting and probably not worth throwing in there because The Outer Worlds was in development and had a publishing deal with another company before it came under the umbrella of Xbox, and so they were going to have to fulfill those obligations regardless, unless there was some sort of buyout. But this conversation about what franchises are going to make the most sense multi-platform and which ones make the most sense exclusively is interesting. We've talked time and time again that Xbox's strategy moving forward is much more platform agnostic, that they believe that there is strength in the partnerships that they can create both with Sony and with Nintendo. I think they recognize that Google Stadia is going to be a big player in this industry, and that it's kind of be those like mainstay traditional console makers having to come together to fight this new power that's going to be cloud-based streaming, where you can stream from any single device, you know. And so does it make more sense for them to publish Ninja Theory's next game, which is Bleeding Edge? I always forget the name of it. Like, does Bleeding Edge make sense because it's a multiplayer game? It's likely going to have some sort of esports scene that's going to try to be attached to it. Does it make more sense for them to publish that multi-platform so that they can get more and more people within the player base playing it and getting excited about it in order to justify more and more support being put towards it? Whereas a game like Forza is less about like building up this online community that's going to support it and more about like the single player experience of going in and playing the game. I'm not going to be surprised if we see it looking like, you know, Forza, Halo, Sea of Thieves, Gears, these like existing franchises on Xbox continue to be exclusive, but then these newly acquired studios, for the most part, being multi-platform. Because I think it's clear already that Microsoft isn't super interested in keeping anything exclusive to Xbox as a console. And that's just from the fact that their Play Anywhere initiative has taken all of their Xbox exclusive games and said they're coming to PC anyway. And so they've kind of torn down the wall, like they've torn down the veil in terms of what it means for a game to be exclusive in that regard. And it's been much to the chagrin of people. You know, much has been written about Xbox's views of exclusivity and how it's not really exclusivity, and how like their sizzle trailers will often start with like first to console on Xbox, which is really just like, okay, it's a timed Xbox exclusive, but it's also probably coming to PC, Dan, or Xbox console exclusive. And that means, well, it's coming to PC as well, but it's never going to come to PlayStation. Like, they've kind of blurred the lines on what it means to be exclusive to begin with. So why are they not just going to keep kicking that can down the road and start to blur those lines even more to where it's like, yeah, we as Xbox are more of a publisher of games, and yes, we have hardware, and the best place to play will be on our hardware with xCloud and Game Pass and Xbox Live. But we're going to support it on PlayStation, we're going to support it on Switch and all these different places. I don't know. A lot of people think that a console lives and dies by its exclusives, but the Xbox One is still sold impressively well compared to the prior generation. And I don't know if that line of thinking is exactly is exactly right. Because we haven't really seen any Xbox exclusives right now that have moved the needle. It's their services. Their services are impressive. Xbox Game Pass is like a game changer and a great value. xCloud is going to be a game changer, a great value, and a selling point for the next Xbox console where they'll be able to say like, hey, you can start playing on your Xbox, pick it up on your iPad on the go. Like, I think it's going to be huge. And so maybe they're reading the tea leaves and they're saying the selling point for our console is going to be more based in our services and not in our exclusive games. And I think that that's okay. And I know many people will disagree, and I'm sure that there's already people feverishly typing in the comments how they disagree with me. But I think if Xbox puts their head down, focuses on making their studios making quality games, making the quality games, and maybe there's like windows like, hey, it's exclusive on Xbox for 6 months, and then we're going to release it out on other consoles. I think that that's okay. Then they're doubling up. Like, they're making money on the PlayStation crowd and the Switch crowd with them purchasing the games as well. Like, I'd love to see what the and I don't know how you would be able to start to measure this, but like, what is the brand lift that you get from just keeping something exclusive on your platform? Like, are people still buying? Okay, when did Sea of Thieves launch? Release date March 20th, 2018. So this game has been out for almost 18 months, 17 months at this point, right? 16 months. March 20th, 2018. The game's been out for 16 months. At what point, if ever, were people buying an Xbox because they were like, I really want to play Sea of Thieves? Like, how many consoles legitimately was Sea of Thieves moving? And even if it was, at what point did people stop buying Xboxes because they wanted to play Sea of Thieves? So how much more financially viable would it be for them to say, okay, for 6 months, we're realizing that for the first 6 months of a game like Sea of Thieves launch, people are buying Xboxes because they want to play Sea of Thieves. But after 6 months, people aren't making that decision. So why don't we just release it on the PlayStation 4 as well, double up on our sales numbers, because people exclusively on PlayStations may never want to buy an Xbox, but they would definitely buy this Xbox property. KaliliaBot in the chat says, as more interconnectivity comes to fruition, less quality content will be released, and we'll see more micro games, mobile titles, and pay to win. Sea of Thieves started as such. And I agree with you there, Kalila, and I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. I totally agree. I think as we see subscription-based models grow, and that I don't know what those deals financially look like, but I'm sure they're getting paid based on daily, monthly, maybe weekly engagement of your game, creating more systems within that game that keep people coming back, like mobile games that lean heavily on microtransactions, so that number one, you're getting that constant engagement with your title, but also you're recouping some of that money based on like in-game purchases that they're having to make. I definitely agree with you. I think it's going to totally change the way that game developers, especially smaller creators, approach creating their games. Because I'd love to see what some of the like even more popular indie titles on Xbox Game Pass that aren't set up like that are really just like, it's a 5-hour single player experience. I'd love to see what kind of money those are bringing in based solely on their engagement. And I know there's a lot of people that will like play the games on that service and then be like, well, now I'll just go buy the game to show support. But as those get more and more fleshed out, you're going to have to figure out ways to stand out and to constantly be drawing people back when those libraries are constantly turning over and releasing more games. Totally agree with you. Completely agree. But yeah, for Xbox's strategy, I just think it makes sense for them to heat map and say like, well, this is how long exclusivity keeps people coming back to purchase consoles. And now we're going to make the money back again by releasing it on other things. And I guess it makes more sense for a living world like Sea of Thieves than it does like a single player game, kind of like we saw with Rise of the Tomb Raider. You know, it's exclusive on Xbox, and then a year later it comes out on PlayStation, and it's like, and you know, that's not a one-to-one example since that was a third-party game, but when it comes out a year later, the question is like, how many people really care still? How many people really care? And I know that people bought Rise of the Tomb Raider on PlayStation, but that's an established franchise. I don't know, like State of Decay is a good example. You know, with State of Decay, how many people care about that game after it's released to the point where they're like, oh yeah, I want to pick that up on PlayStation. How many units is that going to move? But I think there's an argument to be made that it's not the worst strategy in the world for Xbox to say, hey, if the situation is right, we would allow our studios to create multi-platform games.